people?
Well, we've got to remember this whole Russia dust up that the Democrats keep kicking dirt on and trying to create more and more smoke out there. This happened during Barack Obama's watch. He was the president of the United States. And as Trey Gowdy was able to get out of Jay Johnson, the Homeland Security Secretary, the Homeland Security Department tried to come in and help the Democrats. And guess what? The Democrats refused their help. And so as Trey Gowdy pointed out, why is it that the victim of a crime wouldn't even let the law enforcement, in this case Homeland Security, help them? What was evidently going on as a hack. It really doesn't make any sense.
Right. And also, why is this the first we're hearing about it and talking about it? You know, we have been talking about this Russian investigation for months now, and I think there's a real frustration among the American people that are like, why are we not talking about the issues that impact our lives? There's a new poll out actually that highlights that. You have 64% saying that the coverage of the investigation is hurting the country. 56% say it is time to move on to other issues. 44% say that we should stay on this Russia stuff. What do you think? I mean, you are on Capitol Hill. You're dealing with this day in and day out. What is your sense?
Well, it's the only thing in the Democrats' playbook is to be able to say, hey, let's talk about Russia. But time after time after time, we hear Obama-era officials at the top of the food chain say there is no collusion. There is none. And so were the Russians and others trying to penetrate our systems and dive into our elections? Yeah, I think so. And do we need to make sure that we're worried about and making sure that in 2018 and 2020 there are no other hacks? And by the way, I would add the census into that, who wants to do it a lot of things online. You know, we got to make sure that those intelligence agencies are fighting back against this and that they're not actually penetrating into our systems.
And let's not forget, we are almost approaching the year mark on all of this Russian stuff, as I like to call it. It's just fascinating. Representative Chaffetz, let me jump in here for a moment. You were very vocal in the week following the Steve Scalise shooting about the threats that you had received individually to your office. And now in Nebraska, we have an individual, former Democratic official, who comes out and says he wished Steve Scalise had died. We're going to play you a soundbite right now, and then we'll get your reaction.
His whole job is like to get people, convince Republicans to kick people off health care.
We know all of this.
I hate this. I'm glad he got shot.
We've laid in
I'm glad he got shot.
Dude.
I'm not going to say that in public.
You don't have
Well,
to
then
say
what
that
are you saying it to us for?
Say something. Say something.
What are you telling us for?
I wish he was dead.
Just hearing that has gotten me so fired up, because that is not America. That is not how we operate. But as an individual who is on the receiving end of some threats, how do you respond?
Well, look, the people I know in Nebraska, they're good, loving, patriotic people. That person is such an outlier. I'm glad he's being called out. He really needs to have some, I think, psychiatric help. Steve Scalise is just such a great human being. And these are friends and neighbors. These are the members that serve in Congress and the Senate. We're human beings, too. And so when these threats do come in, we have to take them very seriously. I worry that prosecutors aren't prosecuting these cases. Law enforcement is not looking at them as deeply as they need to be, but this particular person really needs to be called out and shown for what he is, and that hatred is just so disgusting.
Have you seen the threats get worse? I mean, you've been in the House for a number of years. Have you seen an escalation when it comes to this nasty political rhetoric and these personal threats that you and many others have received?
Well, I saw it almost snap when Donald Trump was actually sworn in as the president of the United States. There's something on the far left that really went over the top, because the death threats, the number of vile personal attacks just skyrocketed. And just because they're coming in great quantity doesn't mean that law enforcement and the prosecutors shouldn't be pursuing these. They need to be called out for what they are. And there's some sick individuals. Unfortunately, one took action, and we got to make sure that these people are prosecuted so they don't take action in their own communities or against members of Congress.
Congressman, talking about extreme rhetoric, we've got this health care debate, which should be about substance, should be about policy. Years ago, you had Democrats saying Republicans want to throw Granny off the cliff. Now you have, Elizabeth Warren saying that the Senate bill is blood money, Hillary Clinton saying that the Republicans are the death party. Again, this extreme rhetoric. My question is pretty simple. You can get down in the mud and throw some rhetoric back at them, or Republicans can get their sleeves rolled up and get to work after making this promise, as you know, several election cycles in a row, that you're going to repeal and replace Obamacare. So how do you sort of block out that nonsense and actually get the party together? Because it looks pretty split in terms of getting this through the Senate.
Yeah, don't you just love it when the Democrats already have their graphics ready?
Yeah.
And minutes after
Like
the
that.
bill is introduced,
Yeah.
they've already come to conclusions and they're out there holding their press conferences. I mean, it's kind of almost laughable. They hadn't even read the bill. And it's a terribly complicated situation. But Republicans did promise we need to repeal and replace Obamacare. It is in absolute disarray. It is failing the American people. And because it's imploding, we have to find solutions to that. And that's what I think we're trying to do. And I know there are different people that have different opinions on it, but that's how they make the sausage around here in Washington, D.C. And that's the beauty of our system. And somehow, some way, I think we'll actually get there.
So you say better to take your time and get the right bill than to rush
Yeah.
on something that isn't the best one for the
Yeah,
American people.
remember the Democrats took a long time, and then all of a sudden, in less than 24 hours, they put out their bill and they passed it. Less than 24
Yeah.
hours. Here, it has the light of day. We're going into the weekend. We got plenty of time for people to read it and digest it. There are going to be some other opinions and maybe some amendments, but that's the way it's supposed to happen. But the bottom line is we have to repeal and replace Obamacare. It's what Republicans promised to do, and we have to do.
Congressman Jason Chaffetz in the middle of it all there on Capitol Hill. We appreciate you sharing your insights with us this morning.
Thanks for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Good
Good
to see you.
morning.
Thank you.
All right, turning now to some other headlines we're following, starting with a Fox News alert and more than 140 people likely buried under rubble. Take a look at this. After a massive landslide wipes out a mountainside in southwestern China, so far only 2 people have been found alive in that debris. It also took out at least 46 homes. Heavy rains